is really simple. And the reason I had you do that exercise, because if we're going to create the change we wish to see, the first question we got to ask ourselves is, have you identified what I call your role in making a difference? I'm going to repeat that again. Have you identified your role in making a collective or a social impact? Now, we do this concept of a role. What I mean by that is, have you looked within and, number one, identified your strength? We talked about that. Number two, your passion. Number three, your resources. And then in certain instances, number four, your influence in order to create the impact or the change you wish to see in the world. This is the first question we have to ask ourselves. And the reason why this is so important is because, number one, I have found that one of the key ingredients of creating an impact or creating social change is using our skills, using our passion, using our resources, or even our influence to make a difference. In addition, I have also found that when we are able to connect, when we are able to unite with different skills, with different resources, with different influence, we can make what I call a collective impact. In essence, we're going to truly create impact. We're going to truly make a difference in a variety of areas all across the world. It's not going to be based on one person. It's going to be based on a collective group of people identifying their role, identifying their passion, identifying their resources, identifying their influence, and their strength in order to create the collective change that we wish to see in the world. In essence, when you think about Dr. King, and he represented the civil rights movement, but anyone that knows history knows that it wasn't just Dr. King. There were a variety of people in different areas throughout communities, states, and cities all across the nation that did their part to help Dr. King create the change he wished to see in the world. Right now, you hear about this new organization that's called More Than a Vote. And many NBA players have come together, stewarded by LeBron James, to inspire people and to encourage people to vote. And although LeBron James has influence, he has gifts, he has passion, there's a lot of other people that LeBron James is connected to that are enabling him and others to create the change they wish to see in the world. When you think about back about 10 years ago, and there was a major catastrophe that happened in Haiti with the earthquake. And they did this song where they remade the song "We Are the World" to raise money and awareness and to help those in need. There were not only these entertainers that made an impact in this area as far as awareness and money was concerned, but there were a lot of other people that had roles that had to connect to create the change that we wish to see in the world. In essence, if I'm going to be an everyday activist, number one, I got to understand that the impact is bigger than me. Number two, I got to understand that I'm going to have to connect with other gifts, with other incredible individuals in order to create the change that I wish to see in the world. And then number three, I'm going to have to identify my role. I'm going to identify my gifts, my abilities, and I'm going to have to be willing to do what I can do at the optimum level in order to help connect with others to create the social impact that we wish to see not only in our communities, but our nation and our world. And there's a quote by Angela Davis, and I think it's so powerful. She says, and I quote, she said, "I think the importance of doing activist work is precisely because it allows you to give back and to consider yourself not as a single individual who may have achieved whatever, but to be a part of a historical moment." I love this quote because she says two things. When I engage, when I become an everyday activist, when I do my part to make the world a better place, I understand that the impact, that the change is bigger than me. I also understand that one act, one experience, or my service at any capacity is ultimately making an impact that can have a greater collective impact all across the world. And it's one of the reasons I love this other article that I read, and it talked about 12 ways to be an activist. And I love this article that was written by Felicia Fitzgerald, because what she said is this. She said, you want to be an activist, you want to make a difference. She understood protesting is important, and protesting matters. But there's so many other ways that we can make a difference. We can make a difference through town hall meetings. We can make a difference through donations, through giving resources. We can make a difference through educating people, maybe educating your family members, maybe educating those within the workplace. We can make an impact through just supporting people, just encouraging people, just inspiring people. Ultimately, what I'm trying to teach you with this first point and with these first two powerful statements is this: that we all have a role to play in creating the impact that we wish to see in the world. And your responsibility is to identify what is my role going to be in creating the collective impact that we wish to see in the world. And one of the greatest examples of this concept, and it's a good friend of mine, his name is Julian Gordon. Now, you may have not seen Julian Gordon on television. You may have not seen him on Washington when they were marching. You may have not heard about him on some of the town hall meetings. But Julian Gordon is an unknown everyday activist. And you say, why is he an unknown everyday activist? Well, Julian Gordon is empowering people to have economic freedom. And one of the things that he does is he empowers people with lessons and with teachings and with classes that help people learn how to build economic prosperity through the forms of real estate. And so he does these classes, he empowers these people, and he teaches them not only just to buy a home, but buy a multi-level building or apartment complex, so ultimately they can make economic income and economic cash on a consistent basis. And then he went a step farther, which is so powerful to me. Not only was he teaching this, but he went a step farther, and literally right now in Baton Rouge, he is galvanizing investors, everyday people, to invest into this pot, to literally buy up the whole block or buy up an entire area in Baton Rouge. To me, this is activism on a whole nother level. I'm not going to just talk about it. I'm actually going to do it. I'm actually going to create economic empowerment. I'm going to create financial opportunity, because what he understands is one of the things that we need in this country when it deals with equality and social justice is also economic mobility, economic freedom. I mean, how much more of an impact could you be if you're able to have such money coming in that you can either give or, watch this, have the freedom to serve, have the freedom to volunteer, and still be making money? This is what Julian Gordon is doing. And this is an example of someone using their gift, using their passion, using their resource, and using their influence, ultimately not only to create change, but to connect with others all across the world that are trying to create a better future and a better community and nation for everyone else as well. And so the lesson is really simple. I'm getting pumped up today, y'all. So the lesson is really simple. If I'm going to be an everyday activist, if I'm going to create the change that I wish to see in the world, three things to remember at this first question. Number one, identify what are my strengths. You already did that. What is my passion? What resources do I possess? And number four, what type of influence do I possess? Number two, the second thing you want to do is you want to think about ways that you can use these things that you have identified to create social change. So as you shared, someone talked about helping, and someone talked about service, and someone said, so just being there. How can I use this on a daily basis to create the change that I wish to see? And number three, I gotta be consistent, and I gotta think long term. This is so important. My grandmother once told me, she said, Rome was not built overnight. And change is not an overnight process. Change is a journey. That's a good quote. Change is not an overnight process. Change is a journey. And that's it. If we're going to create the change we wish to see in the world, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be commitment. It's going to be a process. It's going to be perseverance. It's going to be endurance. And in order to create the change that I believe all of us would desire to see in our community, our nation, and our world, we're going to have to be committed long term. That's why I use the concept everyday activism, because it's not about a seasonal thing. It's not about short-term goals. This is commitment long term, doing everything I can while I'm here on earth to create the change and the impact, not only for my generation, but for future generations as well.